Welcome back to another segment of Board Game Bites. Alright everyone, welcome back to After Evenfall, a channel all about inspiring you to embark on adventures from home. My name is Bailey, and today we are going to go through 5 games that I played recently and what I thought of them. So, before we get into it, I am super heavy pregnant, due to have my baby any day now. It's been quite the last few weeks. We've had a lot of I get prodromal labor, so I have contractions that are consistent for weeks on end, which is super fun, and I am just ready to be done and ready to just get this baby out and ready to talk to you guys about some board games today. And I am super stoked about this episode because I have quite a few of them I have 2 that are Kickstarters. I have one that was sent to me and one that I love a lot, and then I've got another one that I just recently got. So anyway, I am super pumped. I think this is going to be a good episode, and let's get into it. All right, so my very first game that I have today is a prototype game. It was sent to me by Ivy Studios, and I'm sure you guys have been seeing a lot about this game. It is for good reason, and that is the game Tend. Now, again, this is a prototype copy. There are items that are there are components and items that are subject to change. You will see them in my video, in my B-roll, and like I said, I know that I have, for instance, silver coins in here. The coins are going to be gold in the game. There are a few things that are going to have adjustments to them. Anyway, this is kind of so they market this as being a flip and write game, I believe, but it's kind of a hodgepodge and write game. There's a lot going on in it. There are cards that are being flipped. There are dice that are being I guess there's some that are being rolled, but there are some that are being ticked up where you just kind of move them up sequentially. And then there's also a scratch off element to it, which is super cool. I've never seen that in a game before. And maybe that's just me. Maybe there are games out there that have little scratch things, but I have never seen it personally. It's like kind of the lottery scratchers, except for it's not as messy. It comes off more like an eraser than anything else. And there's just a lot going on. It's so interesting. Anyway, so in this game, you have been sent by Zenith Corporation to go cultivate a new planet. Now, this can be through harvesting, through planting crops, through taking care of animals. There is also chopping in the game. There's fishing. There is mining. And then there's also a stamp section of the game where you stamp in the items that you've gained and you send them off to a cargo bay where you will then score points for them later. There is a lot going on. It is on the heavier end of a roll and write game. I have yet to play another roll and write game that is heavier. The most similar one I've heard it compared to is Hadrian's Wall in weight. I have not played that game though, so I can't reference anything to that. There are a lot of little things to keep track of. However, at the same time, the turns themselves flow very naturally. There's a very fluid progression to the game, so it never feels totally overwhelming, at least not to me. And once you get the gameplay down, it really breaks down to some simplified turns. It's kind of got a combo-y element to it where if you do this action, it allows you to do this, that allows you to do this, that allows you to maybe complete some goal that you've had set out for the entire game. It kind of, the simulation of the game is very Stardew Valley adjacent. And I know we've seen a lot of those kind of games come out recently. There have been a lot of them that refer to being like, oh, it's Stardew Valley, but on a board game. And I'll say I've played quite a few of them at this point now. And I honestly believe that this is probably the best executed one that I've played. By, I would almost say a significant margin, because it's not... A lot of times with those games, they'll try to cram so much in that it gets really, really overwhelming really fast. Or it's like a campaign game and it takes forever. And I don't have time for campaign games. I don't. But with this one, it's nice because it's like an hour tops, maybe. I mean, depending on how many people you play it with. But it's not so overwhelming that you don't want to play it again, or that it feels, I don't know, it's just super well executed. I really like the idea of it, and I really like how they implemented all of the features. Now, you will not be able to do everything in this game, and I think that's what kind of makes it fun, because I know in those farming simulation games, I have a tendency to either really like mining or really like farming, and I kind of let everything else go by the wayside. In this game, it gives you that feel where you don't really get the chance to do everything, but you still feel satisfied at the end of the game. But there's also kind of like, oh, if I just had another turn, I might have been able to do this or that. It's got so much, it's just so fun. It's really easy to want to spread yourself thin and not be able to really accomplish anything in the game. You really have to kind of hone in on 1 or 2, maybe 3 elements that you really want to focus on. And you'll find that there are some things that come up throughout the game that feel more natural, where maybe you haven't fished a lot throughout the game and you've done a lot of farming or you've done a lot of mining, but you really need this fish to check off this neighbor card and get past it to your neighbor so that you can scratch off some other, or check off some other things on your paper and unlock some other elements. And when those moments arise, I love how natural the decision making becomes. It has the strategy to it, but it's not crazy difficult. While I'm not usually a solo player, I don't know if I've let off that impression before, because I've had some people ask me for solo game references. I'm really not a solo game player. I have too many kids. I'm too busy. And I generally don't have time to just sit down and solo game. However, this game, I have solo played probably like 3 or 4 times now, and I love it. I love it so much that I am probably, honestly, going to be taking it to the hospital with me when I have my baby, because there are a lot of hours after you've had your baby when you're still in the hospital where it's kind of boring and there's nothing to do. And this is going to be a good fill game for me. It's so satisfying. And I think it's going to be super fun. So I am really pumped to take this to, I highly recommend this as a solo game. I just think it's fantastic. And it's probably one of the very few games that I've been interested in pulling out over and over and over again as a solo player. And like I said, that is not me. I'm not a solo player. This got me. It definitely hit the spot for me. However, I will tell you that this game does suffer a little bit from what we in our household call very fondly the Castles of Burgundy effect, where your first game really just needs to be about learning how to play the game. You need to put the pressure off of trying to win, and you need to just focus on learning the rules and give yourself some grace. Don't take it too seriously. It took me maybe 3 of the first games, 3 games that we played, in order to really feel more confident in my strategy and in understanding the scoring. Sometimes it can be a little hard to keep track of your resources that you've gained that turn and what you've checked off and what you haven't checked off. And so I would highly recommend just the first few games, just know that you're learning, give yourself some grace. And then after that, you can get really into it and you can really work out your strategy. I would actually, my only critique of the game is I wish that you had a little pegboard on the side that you could maybe, my mom actually came up with this idea. She's like, this is what we should do. And we might actually write this out, and keep it just on tab, on hold on the side when we play the game. What I think it needs is a little pegboard with a list of all the resources, so you can move a peg up every time that you gain that resource on your turn, because all your resources are finite for that round. Anything that you gain on your turn you have to use on that turn or it disappears. And so it would be nice to be able to track okay, I got 2 copper this round, so now I have 2 copper that I can spend, and then you can move it back down as you check off stuff off your board. That way it can make your decisions maybe a little bit easier to keep track of. And that, I think, would really help the game. Like I said, I might just do it with a little chart on a piece of paper later, but just because sometimes it can be hard to kind of know what you've done and know what you haven't done on your turn, especially as you get further into the game and there's a lot more combo elements to it. It can be really difficult to remember okay, I think I checked this off, but I can't remember, did I check this off before I did this or before I did this? And is that going to allow, did I use all of my copper? Because I scratched off 3 and I can't remember if I used them all or if I only used 2 of them. So it would be nice to be able to have something like that to keep track of in the game. Other than that, I think it's fantastic. I gave this game an easy 5 stars. This is, I think, a semi-deluxe version of the game. There are going to be some more deluxeified versions and some simplified versions that they're going to be putting out. And I look forward so much to this campaign. The campaign launches on October 29th. On Kickstarter, I would highly recommend you go over and you take a look at it. I know I flagged it, and even though I have this copy, I'm probably going to be backing it again anyway, just because I love it so much. And that is Tend by Ivy Studios. All right, so my next game is one that I have had in my collection for probably I would say maybe 4 or 5 years. I'd have to look at when the publishing date was for it. But I was recommended this game off of a YouTube channel back when my husband and I were really getting into board games. And we've had this one in our collection for a long time. We only pulled it out and learned it about 2 years ago, and it's been such a fun game for us to play. And that is, if I can get it, Aquatica. So this is an underwater themed engine building game. I have had it on my channel before. If you go and take a look at my 14 games for 2 players video, I featured this on there because I think this is a fantastic game for 2 players. And I highly recommend it at that count. That's what we primarily play in this household, so games that are 2 players tend to make it to our table more often, and we tend to like them better. So in this game, you are seeking to bring glory to your underwater sea ocean kingdom. It's got kind of a deck building feel to it, where you're drawing cards, and then you can spend those cards to buy additional cards on your turn. You can buy locations, and you can you can add certain cards to your deck that might allow you to have more money on a turn. There's usually like a base hand that you're given, and then you kind of add to it throughout the game. I've mentioned it before, there's a really cool personal board that you have out in front of you in this game. I haven't played any other games like it. It's kind of sandwiched. It's got a little slot in the middle, so you have like a base piece and then a little gap and then a plate on top of it that are all connected. And throughout the game, as you gather these cards, you'll be sliding them underneath in that little gap, and certain rewards will be shown as you dive deeper through the depths of the ocean. So maybe one of the rewards will be like a coin on your turn, or some of them can allow you to push more cards up, and you get kind of a combo effect to it, where maybe this card activates this one. I love that sliding element. It is so cool. Like I said, I haven't seen it on any other game. I love how it brings a unique element to an engine building deck builder, especially because I feel like without it, it could have a tendency to kind of fall into just a standard deck building game or a standard engine building game. And so that really levels it up, almost literally, because you're kind of sliding up a notch. That was stupid. I shouldn't have said that. Anyway, dumb. Now, the art style in this game is beautiful. I love the blues, and I love how vibrant the board is. I am someone who, for sure, like if the game looks beautiful, I'm probably going to be buying it, because I am an art snob a little bit. I love pretty, vibrant, especially like nature-driven art, or I grew up loving mermaids, so I love like the kind of underwater sea theme. Now, there is an expansion to this game. I own the expansion because I'm a nut who can't own a game without having it fully upgraded or having all of the expansions put in. But I have not played the expansion, so I can't speak to it. If anyone else is like that, I would love to hear, because I buy all the expansions to like every game, and I suck about getting them out and playing them. I am the worst. Like, I have all the expansions of Everdell. I think I've played 2 of them, even though I love Everdell. I shouldn't have said that, because that's probably admitting too much, but it's true. I've only played like 2 of the expansions of Everdell. Anyway, this game I own the expansion for, haven't played it, can't speak to it. But it does look really pretty in my box, because I also, in my B-roll, I have some 3D printed trays that are shown. They're not included in the base game. I did print those on my own additionally. And if you want them, they're on Thingiverse. If you have a 3D printer at home and you want to print inserts, because I love doing that with games. Again, we have really enjoyed this game overall. It really suited both of my and my husband's gaming styles, so for that reason, it's been really nice. It's very versatile between gamers, because it is one of those standard strategy games where it's really easy for almost anyone to pick up on what they're doing in the game, especially if you've played games like Dominion or Clank before. That makes it really, really helpful to learn how to play the game. Yeah, I think I gave it like 4.5 stars. Oh no, I did. Well, not in the previous video. In this video, I'm giving it 4.5 stars. I really, really enjoy it. It doesn't quite break into like my top tier games, but it is up there. I think it's a great game, and that is Aquatica by Cosmodrome Games and Arcane Wonders. Okay, so my next game is a Kickstarter that I backed many, many months ago, and I have been so pumped for it. I was so disappointed because I think they ended up getting copies at, at Gen Con before I got my copy in the mail, which happens a lot with Kickstarters. For anyone who has ever done a Kickstarter, I think there's another game I'm waiting on. I'm waiting on Explorers of Navoria, and that one also was, I believe, fulfilled in Essen. I think a lot of people were able to pick it up at Essen, and I still don't have my copy yet, but I'm looking forward to it. Anyway, this game I have been super stoked for, and that is River Valley Glassworks by allplay. So again, at the beginning of this video, at the beginning of this little spiel that I'm giving, I just wanted to let you guys know I do have the most deluxe version of the game. There are a few components in my B-roll that you will not be seeing in a standard edition of the game, such as the acrylic tiles that you put your glass out on. The little chips that I have are actual glass and not the acrylic glass or the acrylic glass style pieces that you would get in your standard edition of the game. And there's also like a play mat. You will not be seeing those in your edition that you can pick up at Target, but they are in the deluxeified copy. So in this game, you are a glass company picking up little glass tiles off of a moving river board and adding them to your personal board to score points. On your turn, you can pretty much do one of two things. You can either you'll have your personal board out in front of you, and then there's also a little pan that has up to 5 little glass pieces on it. And you will take one of those glass pieces and add it to the board. You have to put it on a tile that matches the shape of the glass that you're putting out. And then once you've put it out on the board, you can take from one of the adjacent tiles. Take the glass off, and that goes onto your personal board, not that little pan thing. And once it's on your personal board, it stays on your personal board. You want to stack them up in columns of matching colors, and then you will score points at the end of the game based off of those columns. The other option that you have on your turn is if you run out of glass pieces in your pan, you can then go to the lake and you can pull out 4 new glass pieces and add them to your pan so you can keep trading throughout the game. Now, this game feels, I've heard other people reference this before, and honestly, it feels dang similar to Azul. It's got that abstract strategy, and then it also has a lot of the collection element of Azul. It's super fast, like super fast, almost borderline like unsatisfying fast. The game goes until one player has 17 pieces out on their board, and then everyone takes the last turn, or sometimes it's 2 turns depending on where the first player is located in the game. And then once that 17th piece has been placed out and everyone's had that turn, it's over, and you score based off of like how many rows you have filled out and how many columns you have, and how tall your columns are. It is like super, super, super fast. Like, it's one of those games where you've just started it and you feel like you're just getting going and the game's over. And for that reason, it's a little bit less satisfying, but also it kind of makes you want to play the game over and over again. And if you know that going into playing the game, then it's not quite as unsatisfying when you are playing it. You just have to know that in anticipation, because we didn't, and it was really, really confusing to just be like, oh, I just got started and it's over, and okay, I guess I'm stuck with what I'm stuck with, and that kills my strategy. But there's a lot of room in this game for the strategist in your household, which I love, because you could play this with kids and you can also play this with people who are really into strategy. It's kind of like Azul is as well. Like, there's the math element in Azul where you have to add stuff up, and it can be kind of crunchy in that way. But overall, you could really play it with anyone. And I love that in this game, because it allows you to play it with, like, I was telling my mom about it. It's like a Christmas time game, like one that you could break out when you're with a ton of family. And you can learn it in 5 minutes. You can play it. Everyone's going to have a good time. You can play with a ton of people. And I love how versatile it is for a game. It's very entry-level hobbyist. It's super, super, super light. And I know that there are tons of family members that I have that would get really into it. Now, I gave this game 3.5 stars. It is a little light for me. I do like my games to have a little more meat on them, but I do still really enjoy the gameplay, and I love how it gives you the option to still be a strategist without being over the top and still being friendly to any entry level. It's very much a broad spectrum mass market appeal sort of game. And that is River Valley Glassworks. So another game that I kickstarted that I was so pumped for, and it finally showed up, and I got all the deluxeified components. So just know that watching the video, again, deluxe, I can't do anything without it being deluxe, because especially if I'm going to put money down on a Kickstarter and wait like a year for it, it better show up like nice. And that is Wondrous Creatures by Bad Comet Games. Now, this is a worker placement resource management game with some elements of engine building. In this game, you are exploring this new world with a bunch of different animals on it, and you are building your reserve or your menagerie as you place your crew out onto the hexagons on the board. Now, some hexagon spaces will allow you to gain resources, while others will allow you to gain eggs or other things depending on where you're landing. There are also nets that you get in the game that if you swipe them or if you use them, you can swipe some additional actions off of adjacent hexagons that have action symbols on them. For instance, some of the actions might be to allow you to draw cards. And then another action would be maybe allowing you to unhatch an egg that's been hatched, which can become really important in the game, especially as you're working toward those collective objectives and trying to earn trophies. This is a game where your objective is to score the highest amount of points. And in order to do that, you have to fulfill some of those objectives that are on the side of the board in your, I keep wanting to call it a menagerie, but it's your reserve. So throughout the game, you'll be taking cards and paying for them, and some of them will give you one-time actions, some of them will give you repeated actions, and some of them will give you end game scoring. It's got kind of a little bit of an Everdell feel to it for that reason. One thing I really love too, just a plug for the artist in the game, each and every card is unique. And they are beautiful, and there are a ton of cards, like a ton of cards, and I love them. It's like, props to the artist for being that creative to be able to come up with that many animals and to make the game look really nice and to flow really well still with that many different cards out on the board. It is so, so beautiful. And the board game box even, this has probably been one of my all-time favorite boxes that I've gotten. You can store it vertically facing out on your little Kallax unit, and it looks so good. And I love like the foil element on it. From a production standpoint, I'm going to say that this is probably one of the best games I've seen this year come out. The components are just top quality, especially if you get those upgraded components where you can get like the gold trophies and you can get all the wooden accessories to it. I would almost say that the wooden accessories are a necessity in this game because the little cardboard ones are a little bit more difficult to flip. I love the resources. From a production standpoint, the Meeples have multiple colors on them, which I know for screen printing can be a little bit difficult sometimes. It can tend to cost more, and they are adorable. I love that there are these like crew members, and there's your little guy that you play, and then there's your crew, which are the animals, and your little guy can snap on with a magnet onto the animal and ride your animal around and give that one in particular an extra little asymmetrical power. And that is so fun. Like, seriously, as far as quality goes, it's like top quality, except for I did have a little bit of an issue with the board. My board is bowed a little bit just probably from shipping, and it did have a little bit of a tear in it, but it's so tiny and it's so minor that I really even hesitate to even bring it up. But like I said about the cards in particular, so backstory, when we were growing up, we had this game called Herd Your Horses, and me and my sisters would get grounded from this game all the time because we would take the cards, because all of the cards in the game are unique horse cards. And we would take the cards and we would hide them so that no one else could have the cute animals because we wanted the twins, the Dusty Sun and Sand card, or we wanted the Candy Apple card because it was just so cute. And we ended up getting grounded from that game quite a bit because we stole the cards because we wanted to have like the best herd or the cutest herd. Anyway, this game, 10-year-old Bailey and my younger sisters would 100% fight over. If we had it, it would probably end up being like a little bit of a trading card game. We'd probably take all the cards out of it and we'd end up trading them and trying to like make up our own little cute zoo out of it. We're such nuts. It's so dumb, but we would get in like legit fights about it. I could totally see this being a game that we would do that with. It's so bad. It's so embarrassing. But overall, I loved this game. I gave it 4.5 stars. Like I said, it just barely it couldn't break like my top 10, but I still really, really, really liked it. And that is Wondrous Creatures by Bad Comet Games. Okay, so before I show you this next game, I need you to know I generally really enjoy AEG the games that they put out. And this person in particular, his other games I really love. He developed Santa Monica, and he also did Tiny Towns. And those two games have been staples in my house, and we really enjoy them. I just needed to say that up front, okay? Kind of a little bit of a warning, and I know that kind of gives away my opinion, but I needed to say it, okay? So, this next game that I have is called Let's Go to Japan. Now, I recently purchased this game, and I have heard so many good things about it. I've seen it on a million other board game channels. I read a ton of reviews before I purchased the game, and it seems like everyone universally really enjoyed it. Take my opinion with a grain of salt a little bit. Other people have really, really enjoyed this game. So in Let's Go to Japan, you are planning a trip to Japan and you are building up your itinerary. You'll be drawing cards, swapping them with other players, and placing them down in front of you as you try to optimize and build the perfect Japan trip. There are a lot of little rules in this game, putting it solidly in the medium weight category. Every turn you'll need to take into account previous cards that have been played down, whether you are going to need trains, if the trip will be too exhausting, or how many of the icons that you fulfilled for the day. Now for us, most of the meat of this game actually came in the scoring section of the game. I felt like that was the main gameplay section, and then the rest of the game kind of was just leading up to that in they were more quick-paced turns. They weren't quite as long and drawn out as I thought they could be. However, there is still a lot of room for strategy in there. But the scoring part of the game, it is a little bit more confusing. Now, like I said, a lot of people really liked this game. However, and really loved playing it. That was not my experience. I really wanted to love this game, like really wanted to, because I love the theme of it. I love the art style on it. I think it's such a good idea, and I was so excited about it. My mom loves planning vacations. And my brother loves Japan, and I was so excited to introduce them to it because I just thought it would totally fit. And it just did not totally hit for us. So I found this game to be very clunky and mechanical, and there were a lot of extra rules that were thrown in to make it complex that just felt a little bit unnecessary, and the actual gameplay of the game itself was a little bit underwhelming because you're kind of just drawing cards, putting it down. Draw a card, put it down. It's almost like Sushi Go kind of, but not. No, that's a bad reference. It's just each turn feels like it should be bigger than it is. And it went by really quickly, and then the scoring section took forever, and it didn't hit for me. It kind of was the gameplay itself kind of felt a little boring, and it felt a little flat for me. And I hated the scoring section because I felt like it's one of those games where you score it and then you're like, did I do that right? I think I did that right because I know the rules and I learned the rules and I thought I played the game well, but now that I think about it, did I score this right? I don't know. Like, it kind of just gave you a little bit of a confusing vibe. And I was just constantly questioning whether I played it right. Maybe I'm just dumb. Maybe it's just the exhaustion from being this far along pregnant. But I just didn't like it. And the people that I was playing it with, my mom, my brother, like they didn't really like it either. And that makes it kind of hard for me to want to bring it out again. Especially when we were all really excited about the game itself. The components are beautiful. I got those like extra little bowls and stuff, and they are gorgeous, and I love them. But I just had a hard time getting really into the game. And for that reason, I gave it a 2, and one of those stars is for the artwork. And that is Let's Go to Japan. Like I said on that game, I love Josh Wood's other games a lot. So I don't want to make it out to be like I'm just bashing games to bash them. I really, really I feel like it's very important for me to be honest with you guys. And I would never want someone to buy a game that I had referred to and totally feel like I'd lied to them. I really pride myself I really, really try hard to always make sure that you guys are getting my 100% honest review. And anyway, I hope that always comes across to you guys because it's very important to me. Anyway, I hope you guys have had a good time watching this video. I definitely had a fun time making it for you. I hope that you guys can look more into the games. Again, Tend is on Kickstarter on October 29th and will be available for launch then. And I know I will be backing it, so I hope you guys do too, because I think it is a fantastic game, and I hope it goes all the way through to production. I cannot imagine that it wouldn't with how good it is. And I hope you guys all have a wonderful day, and it's been so good to talk to you all. I probably will be taking a little bit of a hiatus for a few weeks after I have my baby, because I'm due any day now. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that bell to get notifications when we upload new content. Like I said, it might be a little bit, I might be taking just a little bit of a pause, at least until November. I hope you guys all have a wonderful rest of your week, you guys. Thank you so much for joining me here in the After Evenfall community.